Hi! So today we have sort of a special diary, or at least it's special to me, because the woman who wrote it lived in my hometown. She lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, although she lived in the city, and that's not where I grew up. But she lived at, 445 South Queen Street in Lancaster, which she has written in the front of her diary. And which I have seen with my very own eyes now. I've been holding off on this diary. Where is it? I've been holding off on reading this until I could get back to Pennsylvania and record some things for you, get some video and photos to include in the next couple videos while we read Catherine's diary. There it is. There it is. Catherine and her address and her husband's name in case of accident or serious illness. Sadly, her husband did die before he actually died 3 years after she wrote this diary. However, where was I? Catherine and her family lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So that's exciting for me and hopefully exciting for you because I have first-hand footage to share. Let's see. They had 5 children. I think one is not living with them at this point. I think it's Charles. I did not write their ages down. But they have J. Harvey, Charles, Edith, Blanche, and Olive. And yeah, for some reason I do not have their ages on these notes. Her daughters are older. One of them does not live at home. 2 of them still do live at home, I think. And Harvey, she calls him Harvey, he lives at home. He's in high school. Yep, I wrote down her age and then forgot to write down theirs on these notes. So Catherine, when she wrote this diary, was about 52 years old. She was born in 1851. I do have some of their birthdays here. Olive was born in 1884, so you could do the math there. Charles was born in 1874, so he was older. Yeah, I don't remember hearing or reading about him much in the diary. Edith was born 1876. There's a typo there. It's not 1976 for sure. 1876. Blanche, for some reason I do not have her birthday, and Harvey was born 1888, so he's the youngest, I think. Anyway, this is the story of their family in 1904. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and her family, in addition to what I just shared. And then we're going to go into, as usual, when I remember, some of the events of the year, so we get an idea of what exciting things were happening in the world. Don't worry, remember, I kind of just choose the ones that I think are relevant or interesting, because obviously a lot happens in a year. So, Catherine's married to Archibald, who she calls Archie, and he is a tinsmith, but he is also a photographer. He and his brother, or 2 brothers, why don't I have this in the order I wanted to? Well, his brother Elias was also a photographer known for his portraits of 19th century Native Americans. His work is in the Smithsonian, Getty, and Museum of Fine Arts, Houston. So I found some of his brother's work online. Archie, not so much. Also fun about his brother. His brother had a citrus farm in Pasadena, California, and traveled extensively using a photo van. Archie, I'm not sure. I tried to find this company and I couldn't find any trace of it. But in addition to being a tinsmith, he also worked as a professional photographer in Lancaster and Wilcox, Pennsylvania, especially between 1873 and 1905. So at this point, he would have still been doing photography, probably in Lancaster. Said he had a studio called Redding and Bonine with John T. Redding in Lancaster. I couldn't find any mentions of it. If anyone out there has any pictures of the building or any of their photography or anything, please contact me, because I couldn't find anything. Yeah, he was one of 3 brothers, all known as late 19th century American photographer pioneers. So, yeah, I could only find some information on his brother Elias, but I would be interested in learning more about him and their 3rd brother. Don't know his name. It's probably on Ancestry, but I have that. So let's see. I did not put this in the order I want to read it. Katherine had 4 siblings, and their mother, Martha, died in 1858 when Katherine was 7 and her sister Adeline was 4. I don't know why it didn't mention her other siblings' ages. I guess they were older. Yeah. So Adeline, her sister, sadly died penniless in a woman's home in Philadelphia. In 1870, I should have said that a little later. Trying to go in order. Katherine and Adeline, and their last name was Kaufman, were living with, I can't pronounce his last name, Henry Fosig, his family, and it's a little confusing. It's the Fosig brother of their maternal aunt by marriage, Mrs. Elizabeth Fosig Reese. So, her mother's brother's wife's brother took them in, we think, yeah, when they were young. So they lived there. Actually unsure what her father was doing. Don't think he was dead. I feel so unprepared. I'm sorry. I do my best. I'm juggling diaries. So later, after this diary, in 1910, Katherine was still living on South Queen Street, and Blanche, who was 31, and Olive, who was 26, were living with her. Blanche was a public school teacher, and Olive was the furniture department manager in a local department store. And Olive married, and in 1911 moved to her husband's, I think, native Massachusetts. Then she became a missionary in Mexico for many years, and then she taught at Chicago's Moody Bible Institute. In 1920, Katherine was still living at South Queen Street. The daughters had left, and Kate had transformed the house into a small ladies' boarding house with 5 single women pensioners ranging in age from 19 to 60 years old, all working in Lancaster. Kate's occupation was sewing at home. She does a lot of sewing in this diary. And in 1930, she was still living there and making sewing repairs. Her house was valued at $7,500. Did I read everything else in there? That's okay, we got that. Those are notes on some locations we're going to go to today, or in this series. Yeah. Okay, so I think we've covered the main notes I have about her, and we will head into the events of 1904. January 8th, Pope Pius X banned low-cut dresses in the presence of churchmen. February 8th, Baltimore catches fire. 1,500 buildings destroyed in 80 blocks. It's the Great Baltimore Fire, and it went from Sunday, February 7th to Monday, February 8th. Yeah, 1,500 buildings were completely leveled. About 1,000 severely damaged. 1,231 firefighters helped bring the blaze under control, including professional paid truck and engine companies from the Baltimore City Fire Department and volunteers from the surrounding counties and outlying towns of Maryland, as well as out-of-state units that arrived on the major railroads. One reason for the fire's long duration involved the lack of national standards in firefighting equipment, despite fire engines from nearby cities responding with horse-drawn pumpers, wagons, and other related equipment. Primitive by modern-day standards, but only steam engines were motorized in that era. Carried by the railroads on flat cars and in box cars, many were unable to help since their hose couplings could not fit Baltimore's fire hydrants. Soon after, we started standardizing. So that was important. February 9th, Japanese torpedo boats make a surprise attack on Russian ships Port Arthur Naval Base, Manchuria, beginning the Russo-Japanese War. Japanese also land troops at Chimulpo, near Seoul, Korea. I'm sorry. In 3 weeks, they advanced to the Yalu River, the border of Manchuria. February 25th, the United States acquires control of the Panama Canal Zone for $10 million. February 29th, Theodore Roosevelt appoints 7-man Panama Canal Commission to proceed with completing a canal at the Isthmus. March 12th, the first mainline electric train in the UK, Liverpool to Southport. April 8th, New York City changes the name of Longacre Square to Times Square in honor of the New York Times move to the area. I didn't know. April 19th, another fire, this time in Toronto. Much of Toronto destroyed by fire. The fire was first spotted at 8:04 p.m. on April 19th by a Toronto police constable on his regular street patrol. Flames were rising from the elevator shaft at the E&S Curry Limited's neckwear factory at 58 Wellington Street West, just west of Bay Street. They never figured out the exact cause of the fire, but a faulty heating stove or an electrical problem is suspected. The fire took 9 hours to get under control. The glow of the fire could be seen for miles in all directions. Firefighters from cities as far away as Buffalo, New York, came to Toronto's aid. It was very cold that night, -4 Celsius, which is 25 Fahrenheit, with 48 kilometer per hour winds, 30 miles per hour, and snow flurries. Over 100 buildings were destroyed by the fire. It claimed one victim, who was an explosive expert clearing the ruins from the fire. By the way, the other fire, it didn't seem to claim many or any lives at all in Baltimore, surprisingly. Or they didn't keep good records. And this one put 5,000 people out of work. At the time, the city had 200,000 inhabitants. So obviously, again, as a result of the fire, more stringent safety laws were introduced and an expansion of the city's fire department was undertaken. This one's important. April 30th, the ice cream cone makes its debut at the St. Louis World's Fair, invented by Ernest A. Hamwi, independently of other claimant Italo Marchioni in New York. I'm so sorry about these pronunciations. July 21st, after 13 years, the 4,607-mile Trans-Siberian Railway is completed. August 16th, New York City begins building Grand Central Station. September 9th, mounted police first appear in New York City. September 28th, there was a woman arrested for smoking a cigarette in a car on 5th Avenue, New York City. Yeah, there was a brief period where women smoking in public was illegal. Guess this was about that time. November 8th, American President Theodore Roosevelt defeats Alton B. Parker. November 9th, the first airplane flight to last more than 5 minutes. November 15th, King C. Gillette patents the Gillette razor blade. And then come the 20s, we start marketing it to women to shave their legs. December 31st, this was the first New Year's Eve celebration held in the newly named Times Square, New York City. So that is some of what happened this year. And now we can get into the diary reading. That took a while. I had a lot to say about Katherine to start us off. So normally it does not take that long with the intro, but it did today. Sorry. I guess it'll be an extra long one. So here we go. All right, we'll see how far we get. I don't know how many episodes this one's going to be. Somewhere between 4 and 6, probably. So in the front here, okay, it's going to take me a little bit. Her handwriting is not that easy. I wish I would have had time to type it up, but Eliza's takes a lot of time. So if you want to see it for yourself, I do have this scanned and available for purchase, $5, at the Buy Me a Coffee site. But let's get started and give it a try. In the beginning, she says she has a note to prevent windows from frosting in cold weather. Apply a very thin coat of glycerin on both sides of the glass. A simple remedy for something of the head, cataract or something of the head. 1 ounce each of fine salt, pulverized borax, and baking soda. Mix thoroughly. Dissolve in half a pint of soft water to use. Take 1 tablespoon of this to 3 of water, and snuff up the head at bedtime. Maybe it's for a clogged head, like a clogged sinuses or something. Here she says, keeping eggs. Let's see. To a pail of water, take 2 pails of fresh slacked lime, pint of common salt. Place 4 eggs in. Place your eggs in any time after June 1st, and they will keep. Try. So then she's got her address there with her name, and we're going to skip through all these antidotes for poisons and legal holidays and get into her diary. They always have so many different useful notes in the beginning of the diaries for each year, like the moon's phases, and maybe it's sunrise and sunset. I don't know. Here we go. Wish me luck. Might take me a little bit to get into it here. Friday, January 1st, 1904. Clear, not very cold. The girls went skating. In afternoon, I called on Mrs. Brinkman. Had a very pleasant time. Flora and her husband treated them to cakes and cocoa. Harvey worked on a watch guard he is making of beads. Archie worked all day at the shop. So I wonder if that's like the tinsmith shop or the photography studio. Maybe she'd call it a studio. I don't know. Saturday, January 2nd, cold and snowing. Snowing hard. Edith did the marketing for me on account of the bad weather. Oh gosh, when they abbreviate things, I'm trying to figure out a word. That's tough. She abbreviated the word account. On account of the bad weather, this is Olive's birthday. She is 20 years old. Thank you. Papa, Edith, Harvey, and I gave her a something of brush, comb, and glass. I think a toilet set, maybe. A brush, comb, and glass. She got a book from Blanche, one from Charlie and wife. Aha, there's Charlie. I read this several months ago and then put it aside, waiting to get to Pennsylvania. So I have notes, but again, this is how it goes. I read them and I have to plan so far ahead. Sunday, January 3rd, clear and cold. Harvey joined church this a.m. Papa could not go to church with us as he was called out to thaw out some frozen pipes that was doing lots of damage, so could not refuse to go. Bitter cold day, had turkey dinner today. Mrs. Garvin, I think, called to offer her sympathy on account of Uncle Thomas's death. Edith went with me to my church in evening, walking miserable. Came home all the way in the street, I think. It's abbreviated, as the pavements were so slippery. Paid my dues at church, $6, I think. Subscribed for little monthly paper, 25 cents. So I don't know if she mentions later which church she goes to. There is a church that she does mention at some point that is very close to her house. I'm going to share things as they come up. Monday, January 4th, clear and very cold. Have to have nearly full draft on, I can't read this word, in stove and heater to try to get the house warm. Oh gosh, done little sewing on sheets and bolster cases for self. Tuesday, January 5th. It's 12 degrees below. Clear and very cold. The coldest weather I think I ever remember. Done some little sewing for Edith on sheets and bolster cases. Went uptown to get some muslin and dress goods. Olive bought a gray mixed walking skirt for $3 for work. Edith and I called on Mrs. H.W. Corkland, I think, in evening. Spent a very pleasant evening. Olive done a little sewing for herself. Papa worked in cellar on utility box for Edith. Harvey went sledding on hill for a little while, too cold to stay long. Wednesday, January 6th, 9 below. Clear and cold. Done some sewing, sewed on the skirts, shirts or skis for Edith. Finished them today. Run the goods together for comforts for Edith. I think, we call it, a comforter. I think they called it either a comfortable or a comfort. So I think that's what she's talking about. Comforts for Edith, mended comfort for Harvey's bed, fixed skirt for self. Edith went to church this evening. Harvey and Olive reading. Harvey went sledding in evening. Olive sewed a little. Thursday, January 7th, much warmer, 7 above. Cloudy, began to snow about 7:30 a.m. Kept it up till near dinner time, swept back and front before Harvey got home. He finished shoveling both up yard and front gutter. Olive not home to lunch. Fixed skirts for Edith. Went to something course at YMCA. Enjoyed it very much. Olive and Harvey along. Edith out skating with F. Hook. Papa home working on a utility box for Edith. Got home from the what is this? It's a very long word. Something at 10:30, walking very bad. I received this diary today from my daughter Edith. Sorry, had to actually stop there. My light went out, so I just changed the batteries. That's their house. I know I mentioned the address before, but I don't think I consciously made time to throw up a picture or a video. But let's do it now. This is their house on South Queen Street in Lancaster. I don't know what has been changed since 1904. I would love to know. It's a pretty long house, but if she did turn it into a boarding house, then it would make sense that it was a larger house. But though later in the diary she mentions a neighbor's bathroom leaking and messing up her wallpaper, so there isn't a house attached to this one now. Maybe there was before. I don't know how to find information on this. Maybe I can do a little searching and find some old photos of the street, but I don't know why there would be one. Anyway, now we have a little visual of where Katherine and her family lived, and that was very exciting to go see in person. And we continue on to January 8th. So she wrote something about the day above, but then she crossed it out. She said, this is a blunder. Thursday should have been Friday. I made the mistake, got the book today, Friday, instead of Thursday. And all I have written for Thursday should have been on this page. Harvey and I, Harvey at school today, as usual. Thursday evening, Olive and Harvey went to church in evening. Thus, what is this word? Something, the week of prayer maybe began? Doesn't look like that. The week of prayer all over the state in all the churches. I don't know why. Saturday, January 9th. Clear and cloudy by turns. Harvey is at Williamson's store today. Olive not feeling well, but has gone to work. Went to market. Edith helped me home with the marketing. In evening, Archie finished 2 utility boxes he had been making for Edith. Grandma sent Edith, I don't know what a utility box is, like, I'm not sure. Grandma sent Edith and Olive each a pair of, is that slumber slippers? Maybe? She knit for them. In evening, I went to Copps for some buns, I think. Talked to Mr. and Mrs. for half an hour, then went to the grocery store, then fixed Edith's black skirt, went to bed at 12:30. January 10th. Oh, she wrote something over there. Okay. Beautiful, bright, clear, not so cold. Got up at 8 o'clock, took bath, had breakfast 9 a.m. Archie and self made beds, got lunch and done other little jobs. Hazel Cop spent, or it might be Cope. I can't remember. No, how's that spelled? We have this stuff this canned corn. We called Cope's corn. And I can't remember if it's spelled like this. She spells this last name Kopp. I might go back and forth here. Hazel Kopp spent the day with us. Walter Dubler, can't pronounce it, spent the afternoon here. Both took dinner with us. Edith and Olive went to see Grandma, brought 2 letters home for us to read, one from Uncle Robert and from Cousin Anna Bowers, I think, from Milwaukee. Did not get out of the house today. Was too late after dinner. Work was done up to go to church. Edith, Olive, and Harvey went to Sunday school and church this evening. Tea break. January 11th. Clear, not so very cold. Josephine washed for me today. I done the rinsing and starching. She didn't get done till 4 o'clock. 2 weeks wash. Harvey worked Williamson's. This evening had a note from daughter Blanche with 2 of her pictures in it. am worried about her. She looks so careworn, if that's a word. In the pictures, I'm afraid her work is too much for her. Wish she would get something to do at home and be contented with us. I done little altering for the girls. Now it is 11:30, so must go to bed. Edith and Olive are both reading. January 12th, beautiful, bright and clear, not very cold. Mended skirt for Olive, ironed the rough work, sprinkled the rest, gave a quilt to Mrs. Wolfe to quilt for Edith. Mrs. K. Wolfe is sick, grip of the stomach. Edith, Olive, and Harvey went to hear Booker T. Washington lecture on his race at the YMCA. They enjoyed it very much. Young Snyder called to take Olive out skating, was disappointed. Harvey Herman came to see Harvey, stayed and read a book. I don't know. I read after putting away what I had ironed. So they got to see Booker T. Washington in person in Lancaster. That must have been so interesting. Booker T. Washington was born into slavery and freed during the Civil War and then got into black politics and got pretty famous. That's lucky them. Wednesday, January 13th. Rain and snow, wind not very cold, rained all day. Harvey had one session. He worked the yard, maybe? It's either worked or washed the yard. Washed doesn't make a lot of sense, but it froze in evening. I ironed nearly all day, done some mending and the housework, and in evening read the paper while Edith ironed a couple shirt waists, these things, then mended Olive, punctuation would help. Olive read a book, The Little Boy from Kingdom Come, very good as far as she got. I don't know this book. Papa working on his boat, I think. Harvey down with him. Mrs. Wolfe sent our comfort home. It looks very nice. January 14th. Bright and clear, very bad walking, so very slippery. Thompson came in from the poorhouse. She was so cold and said she didn't eat any breakfast, so I gave her breakfast and bought a piece of handmade edging from her for a skirt and ordered some made of silk for a flannel skirt for Edith. At noon, Edith, somebody called, another Edith, called. She brought us some apricots that they brought home with them from Uncle Lyle's, Uncle Lyle's farm in California. They look very nice. Mended today and had Archie kill a chicken for supper. So I guess they kept chickens. Friday, January 15th, clear, not so very cold, but still cold enough. Swept good upstairs. Read the morning paper. What? Something said it was very cold driving. It took him 3 hours. 3 hours to get to town this AM, 14 miles. Edith went with me to preparatory service this evening. Went up to Kendig's to pay for something, cream. To pay for cream. Oh my goodness. We got on the 3 of this month. Okay, so they paid for cream that they got on the 3rd of this month. Coming home, met Mr. Rank, maybe. He he came home with us. Oh my gosh, her handwriting. Something, he was glad he met Edith. Wish he would not follow her so close. She doesn't want him, but he is so persistent. Harvey went to the creek skating. Olive washed the dishes. Then she read the... What? Then she read something of evening. Oh, it gets a little scribbly. It's not easy. January 16th, bright and clear. Still cold, most too cold for comfort before 7 a.m. It was cloudy and clear by turns till 10:30. Then it began to snow, soon turned to rain, made the walking very bad. Went to market at 12:30. So by market, I think she means the Central Market in Lancaster, which I show you here. I went there. I go there every time I go back, even if I don't buy anything. It's just, going and walking around Lancaster. You go to the Central Market and, maybe buy a sandwich or cookies or coffee or something. So we went there and took some pictures and video, met up with a friend, and yeah. It's been around for a while. I actually don't know the history of it, so I can't share that with you right now. But I think this is probably where she's going when she says she went to market. At 12:30, something. We met Edith. She helped me. Met Mrs. Falk. She was talking about. Talking about something. What a time they have to get along in evening. That does not make sense to me. I'm sorry. It's so scribbly. In evening, stars were shining. Went to Cops for buns. Where did they go? Mrs. Falk went somewhere. Is she talking about the stars shining there? I can't make out the name of this place. Went to Cops for buns. Edith and Olive got home before Harvey. He said he went with some boys to the bowling alley. I gave him a lecture on it. Had to be... Why? I don't know. I don't know, but he got lectured for going bowling. Sunday, January 17th. Bright and clear, walking something awful. Edith went with me to church. We had communion. She wanted to see the altar clothes we have at our church, as she thinks of putting new ones for... She thinks of getting new ones for their church. Something... think that would be as good a thing as she could do for her church, for they need them badly. I'm so glad she is so much interested in her church. Hazel Kopp spent the afternoon here. Archie went to Mr. someone's funeral at 2 p.m. It was a large one. The GAR men turned out in full. Mr. Rank, I think, called an evening to see Edith. GAR, what does that stand for now? Something about the American Republic. I am blanking, but I will put it there. I could be wrong. I could be way off. I know there's the Daughters of the American Revolution. Maybe American Revolution, GAR. Gentlemen of the American Revolution? Monday, January 18th. Clear, cold, very cold. Mended Archie's trousers, altered 3 aprons for Edith, fixed garters for self. Something, a gown for Edith, and that's scribbled out. Oh gosh. wow. I don't know, the morning and evening papers. Mrs. Wolf sent the second wool comfort home. It looks very nice. They are for our daughter Edith. She also splits words in half. Like she'll start, it's DAU, and then the next line is GHTER. So this is without the little hyphen. They're for our daughter Edith. Archie put a new bottom on our something boiler. Harvey stopped to see Grandma. She is right well. I bought 2 pairs of shoe covers from a poor miserable looking boy. January 19th, it's 3 degrees below. Clear, but so very cold. I can't get the house warm this morning, at least not yet. Mrs. Gersher, I think, died this morning. Her daughter, Mrs. B. Wolf, is lying very sick. Mr. Don't know, was cremated today. It was his request. Done little sewing today. This evening, Edith and Olive went to the Opera House to hear the Philadelphia Orchestra. They enjoyed it very much. Harvey went uptown this afternoon to get bead to make a birthday present for his sister Edith. Old Mrs. Wolf is very much moved over Kate's troubles. It seems trouble never comes single. She did talk so much something about it. I think she will feel what? I can't read that word. That is not very legible. So the Opera House, I believe they went to, is the Fulton Opera House, pictured here. I haven't been there in such a long time. I remember going there once. I don't know if I had been there as a kid as well, but yeah, they have plays and musicals, but it wasn't always a theater. It was actually a pre-revolutionary jail, and there was a big event that occurred there on December 27th, 1763, when a vigilante gang, the Paxton Boys, massacred the last of the Conestoga Indians being held there. So there's actually a plaque on the back of the theater about this. I just noticed this as we were walking around, on our last visit, because the back wall of the theater is actually the remainder of like the courtyard wall for the prison. So it was kept as the back of the theater, and it became a theater. Now I'm curious about the rest of its history. I might do a little more reading on this. But it became the Fulton Theater in 1852 when a man by the name of Christopher Hager decided to transform it or rebuild where the jail was. The whole brief history is on the website in the link below, but yeah, I'm actually curious about a fuller history of the Fulton Opera House. It's been around for a while. But moving on, we must move on. I don't know if we're going to get to February today. Oh geez, she wrote all over the place. Not so clear by turns, looks and feels like snow. Mrs. Musselman stopped up from something a little while, got 2 of pea coal this AM. $4.25. Used my new chopper for the first time this AM. Think we'll like it very much. Papa and girls at work, Harvey at school. done little sewing. Girls went skating in evening. Harvey didn't want to go as he had drawing to do. Went with Edith over to the church to look about getting new communion cloth and cover. Met minister and wife there. We owe them a call, I think, and she reminded us of it again. Olive is skating, would not work, so she came home. Frank Holes, I think, took Edith away round the creek. It began to rain and they came home, made cocoa and treated him. January 21st, bright, clear, not so cold, lovely morning. Let's wash a few pieces this a.m. Mrs. Corkland called, spent 1 hour here. I enjoyed her stay. In evening, H. Herman came to spend the evening with Harvey. The girls went to turkey supper at Second Reformed Church. Then Olive came home. Edith went to the extension lecture. Mrs. Snyder called to see her. Archie worked on his boat. I am not feeling well. Don't know what ails me, but don't feel a bit good. Read a letter from Olive to Aunt May, I think, or Mary, about Aunt Lizzie's. Don't know what to think of them. What is that word? It is not easy. January 22nd, raining very hard. Right after 7 o'clock this a.m. It was drizzling when Archie went to work. Do not feel well at all. Sent Blanche a paper with an account of this Sunday school in it. I went to Mrs. Zucker's funeral, found most of our neighbors there, enjoyed the sermon very much. It was raining so hard, did not go to the cemetery. Came home with met Miss Hastings on the way, so we all three called on Mrs. J. Ryan, I think. She was glad to see us and gave us an account of her trip this last fall. On her road home, met Mr. B. Wolf, asked about his sick wife, little better. January 23rd, raining, very unpleasant, and Harvey helped me work this a.m. Went to market. Edith met me and helped me with it. Got butter from 3 different parties. We'll see how we like it. Something, I don't know. Mrs. Corkland came and spent the evening with me. Harvey was down the cellar with his father most of the evening. Harvey was at home today helping me. Had water in the cellar caused by our back pavement aging, maybe? Back pavement, something must, oh my gosh, it rained, something about raining in the spring. I cannot make sense of that, I'm sorry, but they have some leaking in the cellar. January 24th, bright and clear, Archie and Harvey took a walk to the country to see the damage done by the ice going out, as it was about 14 inches thick. Edith, Olive, and I went to church. I went with the girls in the afternoon. Mr. Snyder called to see Olive. Walter Dubler came to see us. He said he was going to take 6 o'clock dinner with us. In evening, I went up to My church went alone, had a very good sermon, both at morning and evening. Enjoyed them both very much. Mr. Rank called to see Edith. I don't know his name. Did she marry him? I don't know. Archie asked me when we heard from Blanche. It is 2 weeks since we heard. January 25th, bright and clear, not very cold. Mrs. Copp told me about her grandmother's death and how her grandfather, something for her, he is all alone, and misses his wife so much. Mrs. Young was telling me about her daughter Mary's eye. She had a glass top put over her eye, and she lost sight of hope it will work. Can't read this word. Sorry. It's very scribbly right here. I cannot read a couple of these words. Red silk, something for Edith. We don't hear from Blanche. Feel very much worried about her. Clouded up, looks like rain. Oh my gosh. Tuesday, January 26th, cloudy, cold, looks like snow. Josephine smocking for me today. Began snowing about 10 o'clock, just after dinner. It began to rain, miserable slush. I helped with the wash, dried all the fine wash in the house. Josephine put the large pieces out, but before 6 o'clock in evening, I took them all in. Wrung them out and dried them all in the house over the radiators and a line in the kitchen. Archie fixed my rocker. It is good again. I am glad he could do it. January 27th, bright, clear, and cold. Took all the wash down, something, and dry ironed, mended, got all the something sheets and oh my gosh, this is getting difficult. Ironing and afternoon, stretched the starched pieces, ironed the colored clothes, washed the rest of my time watching for somebody's wedding. They had 4. Oh my gosh, raining from 3:30, 8:30, I don't know, on. Had canopies at church and home. It was done up nice. Olive sent her a present. She is one of the Sunday school classmates. We all like her very much and wish her happiness in her new position. Mr. Grady called on Edith in evening. This video is getting long and my corset is feeling tight, so we're going to end after January today and figure it out. I'll figure out the spacing later. January 28th, ironed all day besides the other work. Cut pattern for small pocket for Blanche in evening. Edith went to university lecture. Olive something, her shirt waists. I mended. Papa read and fell asleep. Harvey read. I swept some. Mr. and Mrs. Sawyer's went to York as Mr. S.'s mother is very poorly. Friday, January 29th, snowing hard all day. Harvey got the wow. Guess we have 10 or more inches down altogether. snow. Edith and Olive went to a Japanese party this evening out at somebody's. Had a good time, all girls, all dressed in the some Jap dress. After coming home, Olive made a card of sympathy to Mary, someone. Her papa died yesterday. Archie got a pain in his back. Hope it won't be serious. Stopped snowing about 9:00 p.m. and finished Blanche's bag. Cleaned upstairs today. The week's cleaning. Saturday, January 30th. Cold, foggy. Looks if we might have more snow. In some places, the ice on the rivers is doing lots of damages on account of the great thaw. Now the freeze up. Went to market. Edith met me and something, the basket, and carried the basket. An afternoon, called on Mrs. Furby's sister. Found her sick in bed. Evening, darned stockings. Harvey helped around house all morning. What is this? I can't read this. And clearing in front, back, and clearing in from back pavement and cleaning cellar. I don't know. Edith brought home white grapes. Oh my goodness. And our last one for today, January 31st, clear and cloudy by turns. Walking still very bad. Didn't go out this a.m. At noon, Mr. E. someone called and took Archie with him down to Shanks Ferry, I think. He had bread to deliver. Olive, Harvey, and I went to see Grandma. While we were there, Aunt Mary had been here, so we missed her. She got back home before we left her home. Mr. C came to see Edith, took supper with us. Archie got back at 5:30, said he enjoyed the trip very much. Says the country looks so dreary some places. The ice is piled high on the Port Railroad, I think. So, okay. Whew. This is getting too long, so I'm going to stop there for today. And for anyone who's new here, let me explain how I do this. So, for each diary that I read, I do the first episode publicly on YouTube for you to enjoy, which is this one for Katherine's diary. And then the remainder of the diary I read and put the episodes up privately for my little book club over at Buy Me a Coffee. The link you can find in the description below. I have two membership options, $3 and $5. Right now there isn't really a difference between them. It's just depending on how much you want to support the project, because the money helps me to cover the cost of the diaries, especially if I do manage to find the family and return the diary. I tell them what I spent on it, and sometimes they're expensive, and I just let them know that, you know, with the little money I earn through Buy Me a Coffee, that helps to, you know, cover the cost of the diary. So if they want to give me anything for it, they can, and if not, it's okay. And I kind of subtract that amount from what I've made from my book club. So if you're interested in following along with Katherine or any of the other diaries that I have posted here, just come on over to the Buy Me a Coffee link and join us there. We'd love to have you. It's a small group of people right now, but we all love the diaries and welcome more diary lovers. As for Katherine and her diary, if anyone out there knows of a great-grandchild of hers, please have them get in touch. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'm going to be reaching out to some people with the family trees on Ancestry and see how closely they're related, because obviously someone has pictures of the family, but I don't always have luck through Ancestry. So fingers crossed, I will reach out soon and let you know if I hear anything back. But if you have anyone you can send my way, please do. That is it for today. This terribly long video, I'm sure. And hopefully I'll see you next week over on Buy Me a Coffee. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.